Basically, I just wanted to talk about the reason for why we're doing what we're doing, and what to me is it's really important now more than ever during the pandemic because of the amount of people that are staying at home. However, this is something that we've had the ability to do for a long time. The use and engagement of using technology to reach more people, I think, is the thing that I've found I'm growing in my convictions about, not only personally but professionally and just friendship wise, in every way. I think we have a lot to grow in. When we do come back together, I hope that some of these lessons that we've learned really sink in. And what I am growing in my conviction about is in 1 Corinthians 13 and 14. The very first part of 1 Corinthians 13 says, "If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but I don't have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to the hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there's prophecies, they will cease, and where there are tongues, they will be stilled, and where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For now we know in part, and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. And when I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection in a mirror, and then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, and then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love." And there's a lot of that in that we talk about all the time. What I wanted to talk about was, Paul immediately follows it up with 1 Corinthians 14. It says, "Follow the way of love and eagerly desire the gifts of the Spirit, especially prophecy." And earlier he says, love never fails, but prophecies, they will cease. It's foretelling the future. When there is no longer a future and we're in eternity, there's no longer a future, then obviously we don't need to prophesy. "For anyone who speaks in a tongue does not speak to people but to God. Indeed, no one understands them. They utter mysteries by the Spirit." A lot of what we do technologically is mysterious. Like, people have no clue. Like, I don't know why I understand things the way I do. I just do. And it's one of those things that God gave me the ability to just kind of comprehend technology in a way that's just weird. I don't even understand it myself. But not everybody does, and it's hard for me to communicate what I'm trying to say a lot of times. And even with super smart people, I try to explain, color theory or sound theory or video or some of these like more complicated concepts when it comes to like what people see and hear and how and why they feel the way they feel and why is music so important. There's there's just a lot of stuff there that technology enhances, and it allows you to really engage a lot more people in meaningful ways. And so what I was just trying to get to is, Paul is saying whatever we're doing, that love has to be behind it. I'm enhancing what I'm doing because I want more people to hear the messages that God put on everybody's heart. I love the lessons that everybody does. However, the level of excellence that goes into it, or the lack of excellence that goes into it, or the lack of education in how and why to do things, to enhance things, to make things look and sound better, that has a huge impact on how people feel when they're watching the service. They just, people will tune out. People will see that there's really poor quality happening on the screen, and they will just turn it off. It doesn't matter what's behind the message. And so in that first initial engagement, when it comes to the quality of the things that we produce and put online or put in front of people's faces, that is a level of excellence that we need to take higher and just do everything we can to take that higher. And you know, we've had lots of discussions with each other about, you know, the quality of things and how to make things better. And we do, you know, I do totally love and respect the way that we've been able to handle, you know, feedback. You know, I oftentimes just don't want feedback because my arrogance wants to think that I know what's best for everything when it comes to technology. And the bottom line is I don't. I don't know what's happening on the other side. God is just doing things through me a lot of times, and I'm not even involved in the process. I couldn't even tell you how or why I understand what is happening. And so it's a weird place to be, but that's just where I live all the time. And so sometimes my ego gets in the way because I'm relying on my own strength and my own power, and I'm thinking that I'm doing something when in fact it's God's Spirit that does it, and it has nothing to do with me. And so what I'm saying all that for is just, you know, when we're getting and giving feedback to each other, I do love and respect the amount of humility that we've all expressed with each other, and we just, you know, need to maintain that in everything that we're doing when it comes to this technology stuff. It's important that we keep taking it higher and make it better and listen to each other. You know, I get frustrated sometimes when I feel like I'm saying a lot of things to people that are doing services, or I've communicated a lot of things along the way, but it just doesn't flow. You know, it's not flowing down the line, and it, you know, my ego gets in there, and I think, well, you know, it's because you didn't respect what I was saying, and it's just not important to you. There was a conversation that Jeff Chacon and I had. Jeff, you'll remember this. We were in my garage, and we were talking about the quality of service, and I said during that, and I know you've apologized for it, but I don't think it was something that you necessarily needed to apologize for, because it's just one of those things, like, you don't realize the impact that you can have when it comes to the enhancement engagement in technology and social media and things. You don't realize how important it is until everything is removed. And I think the pandemic kind of like alluded or it enlightened us to see that God's been trying to get us to do this kind of thing for a long time. The technology and the ability has been there for a very long time. You know, I started working on this kind of stuff, it's got to be 15 years ago when I started doing big conferences, you know, and I remember I installed like a big QuickTime server in one of our services to be able to stream, and it was like a really complex process back then. And, you know, now we can just dial into a service and pay $20 a month, and we get this amazing complex stream that happens. It's amazing how much things have grown, but it took a long time. It took 15 years to get to the point where we are where we are now, and we could have been way ahead of the game if we had given it the respect that we do now. If we had been prepared beforehand, we could have been much further along. You know, one of the things I want to do is just set up a studio and record songs from people here in the church, just like they do in Broward and many of the other churches. Like, you know, we have that kind of talent here, and I don't see why we don't engage in those kinds of things. But, you know, the last thing I wanted to share is just the whole purpose behind everything that I've been trying to say or do. I hope it comes across the right way. But it comes from this passage here. And I remember there was a guy that was over sound long before I got raised up into doing sound, like in a kind of professional level, before I really knew anything. There was a brother that was, he was one of the chief engineers for the Bose Corporation, he was like a regional, I don't know exactly what his role is. He was a regional director for one of the Bose Corporation's branches. And he did like these high-end, research-driven installations, and he dealt with people in the sound world. You know, it was just, he was amazingly gifted when it came to sound. And he actually shared this passage with us in one of our first spiritual times that we had. He wanted to share a lesson with everybody that was coming out and doing sound, because nobody thinks that sound, you know, didn't exist when the scriptures were written. But it's right here. It's in 1 Corinthians 14. It's after Paul goes through all of this stuff about love. And in verse 6 it says, "Now, brothers and sisters, if I come to you and I speak in tongues, what good will I be to you unless I bring some revelation or knowledge or prophecy or word of instruction? Even in the case of lifeless things that make sound, such as a pipe or a harp, how will anyone know what tune is being played unless there's distinction in the notes? And again, if the trumpet does not sound a clear call, who will get ready for battle? So it is with you, unless you speak intelligible words with your tongue, how will anyone know what you're saying? You will just be speaking into the air. Undoubtedly, there are all sorts of languages in the world, yet none of them is without meaning. If then I do not grasp the meaning of what someone is saying, I am a foreigner to the speaker, and the speaker is a foreigner to me. So it is with you. Since you are eager for the gifts of the Spirit, try to excel in those that build up the church." And, technology and all of this stuff that we do is exactly that. I'm eager for the gifts that are trying to excel in building up the church. Because the more clear the image is, the more clear the quality of the sound is, the less irritating the distractions are and the sloppiness. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm watching a movie or I know I'm a little more OCD than most people when it comes to this kind of thing. Like everybody that knows me, if I'm around my friends in Chicago that worked with me for a long time, if we are at a concert or in a movie or something, and something technologically or something, even in the sound or the video quality on a movie, if something happened, one of the guys that I worked with for all those years would look at me and see if I was irritated. Because I notice it in everything. You watch the Grammys and you hear, feedback come through your microphone and you think, those people are spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and they should not have that kind of thing happen. Because, it's just you've hired the wrong people or you've put the wrong people in that role. So what I'm saying all that for is I'm eager to excel in the things that build up the church, which means I'm eager to do the things that will improve the quality of the person that is speaking so that the distractions aren't in the way when somebody's listening. It's just like music ministry. When we put these songs before communion or before a message, the purpose of it is to bring that person's heart into a place where they are now not defensive. They've been elevated to a place where they're now soft and vulnerable, and they want to hear whatever the person is that walks up on stage. And you can come off of a musician or a singer or somebody could have been working on that for months and months and months. And they came out on Sunday service and it was the best, most beautiful song, and it was sung in a way that was just, it elevated everybody in the room, way up here. Oh, that was so awesome. And then somebody walks on stage and bang, you get feedback. Or, somebody's standing up there and nobody can see them. Or, we're streaming and we come off of a beautifully recorded song and we get into just a really poor quality video capture that somebody did, because they just didn't know any better. And we take what somebody's heart was ready, and then it just destroys somebody's perception of the person walking up on the stage or the person coming into camera view. And it's just people don't listen anymore. It's unfortunate, but that is the case. It's not all about just the words. Excellence and love is expressed not just in words, but in everything that you do. When you plan something for your wife, for your anniversary, you don't just get up in the morning and say, "Honey, I love you. We've been married 25 years. You're amazing. Happy anniversary." That's not the only thing you do. You carefully plan all the little things that your wife likes to do, likes to hear, likes to smell, likes to eat, I know our best anniversaries have been when I've planned the entire day so that there's like a 5 or 6 hour period where everything from the time we got dressed and I told her this is the type of place we're going. And sometimes I don't, I typically like to surprise her. And so I won't tell her exactly what's going on, but I'll say, if you could dress, like we're going to go out to a fancy dinner. Because we are at some point going to go to a fancy dinner. And then I might say, well, but don't, bring those clothes with you, but we're going to stop somewhere along the way. Maybe we're going to get a hotel room or something later and we're going to be able to change our clothes. But if I've carefully planned out so that every little piece of it, the music that we hear in the car, the way that she feels in the morning when she wakes up, I planned the right kind of incense and the right kind of soap and the right kind of, every little thing. If I've carefully planned all that out, then she walks into the event just, it's so nice. And then when the day is over, I've blown it many times because I've done all of that, and we're broke for the next month. Or a couple of days later, the electricity gets cut off because I've spent all this money. This is unfortunate, but that's one of my weaknesses. I would do stuff like that. But if everything is planned out and there's no obstacles and there's no major things that happen along the way, then the experience is just, it's life-changing. It resets our marriage for the next year. And the same thing can be true on Sunday morning if we put that level of excellence into it. And so when we're asking people to do communions or do messages or even just simple as the welcome, I really appreciate how much things have gotten better and things have been taken higher. I just want to keep pushing that. Like when we're asking people to do things that are going to be put out in the public eye to represent the church, then it just needs to be done with a level of excellence and love that I really want people to hear this. And so I'm going to put in the extra time. I'm not going to rush. I'm not going to do one camera take and think it was it. I'm going to spend some time. I'm going to spend some time on my slides, spend some time on my scriptures. I'm going to spend some time on what I wear, obviously I didn't do that today. I didn't even shave, but anyway, you get the point. Let's be excellent at everything that we do because we're representing God. And it's not about us and our abilities, but it's just so that we're not in the way. If we do something poorly, then we're in the way. If we do something excellent, then nobody even notices we were there. It's not about the eloquence that I present something. It's about that I didn't make a mistake that then caused someone else to stumble and not hear what God wanted them to hear. So that's all I wanted to say. I just want us to take things higher. So enjoy the rest of the video.